Hello and welcome to the vlog. Today I'm going to be talking about a subject I last covered in vlog 20, namely laundry, and I'll be showing you this, my washing machine, the Hotpoint WMTF722H. It's gripping stuff, so prepare to hang on to the edge of your seat. In that old video, which I would recommend you have a watch of before this one, I described how narrowboaters can do laundry by using machines at a laundrette, at their marina, or on board if they have enough power to run the machine. And they need enough power because washing machines in the UK take all their water fill from the cold supply and do the heating in the machine, and electric heaters need a lot of power. Yes, I know you can muck about with cutting the wire to the heater element and short-circuiting the temperature sensor. Or you can pipe hot water into the cold fill so the machine doesn't feel the need to heat it up. But I'll come back to those. For the moment, let's just have a look at this machine and I'll explain why I bought this one. First of all, you can see it's narrow. I haven't got much room in the boat for a washer. There was no dedicated space for one when the boat was built, and nearly all standard machines are about 550 to 600 millimeters wide. This one is only 400, so it can slot in at the end of the kitchen unit and behind the first of the saloon chairs. You may be wondering where the door for the drum is in that case, because it's not here. Well, this is a top loader, but not like the old top loaders of years gone by with a stirrer thing at the bottom. This is a normal drum machine, but the drum's been turned sideways, which is why the machine is so narrow. And that means you drop the clothes in through a flap in the top of the drum, like a tombola machine. The detergent gets tipped in here, with conditioners and all that sort of stuff in these compartments. The obvious disadvantage of a top loader is that I can't put anything permanently on top of it, but that's a trade-off I was willing to accept because the machine is so narrow, which I definitely wanted. This washer has a decent capacity too, of 7 kilograms. A lot of narrowboats with limited space use either the Zanussi ZWC 1301 or the Candy Aquamatic, both of which are very compact, but the Zanussi only has a 3 kilogram capacity and the Candy has 4. I wanted a machine that could take a proper load, because if you read the manual you'll see that on some of the quicker programs the most you're supposed to put in is half of the maximum, and on the Zanussi that would mean just 1.5 kilograms. In fact, on that Zanussi some of the programs have a maximum of 1 kilogram, which is very little indeed. My Hotpoint has also got this magic button, Cold Wash. Pressing this means it doesn't try to heat the water at all, and that's important on my narrowboat. Some narrowboats do have big battery banks, inverters and generators that can quite happily run a normal domestic washing machine. My boat, and many like it, just don't have the power capability to do that. If I tried to run a machine on even a low temperature 20 or 30 degree wash, it would overload my inverter and absolutely hammer my battery bank. Bear in mind that a heating element of 2 kilowatts is going to draw roughly 200 amps from a 12 volt battery setup, and that's a heck of a draw, even if for a very short time. Unfortunately, most washing machines sold in the UK don't offer a proper cold wash facility where they do not heat the water at all. They've all got low temperature washes, 20 or 30 degrees, but that still means they will try to heat the water you put into them, albeit briefly, and that's going to kill my batteries. This one does a true cold wash, so while I'm out cruising the canals away from a shoreline or other mains power, I can still run this off my inverter by pressing cold wash, because it's only drawing enough power to run the motor, and that's not a lot. On that last video, a lot of people said, why don't you just feed the hot water supply into the washing machine and then it won't have to heat it up? And indeed, a lot of boaters do that. My objections are firstly that if the water you're sending it isn't as hot as the machine wants, it will still try to heat it. But also, if you don't switch it back to cold when it's doing the rinse cycles, you'll be wasting your precious hot water on rinsing. And I can't be bothered with all that faffing about, besides which I would probably just forget to switch it back. So this one, which I can just press the cold wash button on and forget about, works for me. There are enough detergents around these days that can work perfectly well enough in cold water that making it run hot really isn't necessary for most of my weekly wash. I mean, yes, okay, maybe my underpants could do with a blast of 60 or 90 degrees every now and again, but I will save that pleasure for when I'm connected to a shoreline. Because the machine is so narrow, getting it on board through the bow doors was no problem, which could have been an issue with a standard sized machine. There were no plumbing connections for it on the boat, so I had to make some. This meant cutting into the cold feed going up to the sink and adding a T-piece into the pipes, which would then feed into the washer. These pipes are plastic and use push-fit connectors, which dribbled slightly and very briefly when I first put them in, but have since been fine. The washing machine's outlet pipe has been connected into the sink U-bend using a kit from Homebase, in which you clamp a pipe round the existing sink pipework, then screw in a little metal cutter until it makes a hole in the plastic. Remove the cutter, push the pipe on and secure it with Jubilee clips. I was worried that the volume of water coming out might be too much and come back up into the sink, but that's not happened. It just flows straight out and overboard, as with all the other grey water on the boat. Incidentally, for those who are new to narrowboats, chucking the grey water overboard into the canal is absolutely normal. It's only the toilet waste that gets put into a tank and disposed of elsewhere. Obviously, it helps the wildlife if you can use as eco-friendly a detergent as possible. Although, saying that, given the amount of crud you find in the canal, I think the local wildlife is pretty hardy. But still, every little thing you can do to help them has got to be good. To conclude then, the machine cost around £380, which isn't cheap, but I am very pleased with it. It's much, much better than that terrible little twin tub thing which I really didn't get on with. Having a proper washing machine on board has been a massive time saver, stopping me having to trek to the laundrette every week with a massive bag of stinky washing. It washes really well as far as I can tell, and even on the cold wash programme makes my socks and pants usable again. When I'm connected to a shoreline, I can give everything a really big 3-hour-long 90-degree bacteria-killing full wash that can even make my crinkly sheets civilised once more. Some of the programmes are absurdly long, but it does have 15, 30 and 60-minute quick washes, plus on some of the longer ones you can press a button to shorten them a bit. The only slightly annoying thing is that the drum doesn't always end the programme facing with the doors upwards, so you have to pull it round by hand to be able to get the washing out. I'm also very pleased with how dry things come out of it, even though it's only got a 1200 RPM spinner. I thought they'd be still soggy or at least damp, but in fact they are pretty dry, and that means when I'm hanging them up in the boat to finish them off, there is less condensation, which is always a good thing. And on that topic, if it's sunny outside, I have portable clothes airers to hang things on, either in the well deck or on the towpath. If it's winter, then I hang clothes over these spring-loaded poles run from either side of the saloon, and the heat from the fire dries them very quickly. I always open the windows too, to make sure there's lots of fresh air coming in, rather than just the water condensating on the inside of the boat somewhere. And that is it for this video. I hope it was useful and possibly even interesting. As always, any comments or questions about this video, drop them into the comments below. I'll do my best to answer. That's it for this one. Cheerio.